Well, it's always nice in San Diego. It's nice to come out here for the weather, and ideally it's nice to come out here for wins. But in this series, they have not come yet for the Reds, and so they'll try to get out of town with a victory in the finale here this afternoon. It's the Reds and the Padres on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, everyone. Along with Chris Welsh, Jim Couch, welcome to Cincinnati Reds baseball. This afternoon from Petco Park here in San Diego, the Reds wrap up this three-game get-together. And, you know, last night was not a good night for Cincinnati. Fell behind early 11-0, ultimately lost the game 11-6. But, Chris, there was a bright spot, and that's Todd Frazier down to 2.
Well, sometimes you have to reach for silver linings, but all you had to do last night was open your ears and hear Todd Frazier hit the ball. I mean, he cracked it 3 times very hard, and you could tell that his swing is back. He's on time. His foot is down. His hands are back. He puts a good level swing on the ball last night. And welcome back, Todd Frazier, because since the All-Star break, he has not been hitting well at all.
Todd had been 1 for 22 before he finally got that first hit last night. All right, let's move on to the pitching matchup for this afternoon's game. Another rookie starter for the Reds as that streak continues. And today, one who's going very well, Raisel Iglesias.
Well, he's doing really well, Iglesias is. He shows us that he's got good control of the first base side of home plate with his fastball. He's got a little bit of a low arm angle, so he gives right-handers fits, especially when he starts throwing his breaking ball at different speeds. You can see the numbers of his last 2 starts. Almost 13 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts there. The Reds are not giving him a lot of runs, or he'd have more wins on the board. But he faces a tough customer today in James Shields. Shields, you talk about a guy that has had no run support. This is him all year long. 8-4. He's looking for his, I think, 9th or 10th consecutive season in which he's won double digits. And James Shields has given up a lot of home runs this year. Other than that, he's a very fine pitcher signed to a long-term deal here in San Diego.
All right, that's the pitching matchup for this afternoon. Shields and the right-hander Iglesias. When we come back, Jim Day will talk about not leaving early. 2 perennial closers on these 2 ball clubs.
Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. I'm Jim Day. If you like power closers, you certainly like the guys at the back end of each of these bullpens going at it today. Two of the best. It's our IGS bringing the energy, Aroldis Chapman and Craig Kimbrell. These are all-time ranks, minimum 500 strikeouts. Chapman's strikeout to 9 innings pitch ratio is tops, just better than Craig Kimbrell. Innings to get to 500 strikeouts, the record that Aroldis Chapman broke was indeed Craig Kimbrell, and opponents hitting measly 154 off of Aroldis Chapman, 157 off of Craig Kimbrell. So when you look at our Baseball America National League best tools voted on by National League managers, best fastball, Aroldis Chapman rated number 1, Kimbrell number 3. Best reliever overall, they've got the Cuban Missile on top, just ahead of Kimbrell. Each team would obviously like to see their closer on the hill today. Cincinnati trying to avoid a sweep here in San Diego before heading to L.A. A little bounce in their step, let's hope. Up next, Jim Couch and Chris Welsh with all the play-by-play action of Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Series, Reds looking for a victory to get out of town, and let's take a look at the starting lineup. Brian Price will put forth today, brought to you by Meyer. Billy Hamilton will lead off. Eugenio Suarez 2, Joey Votto 3rd. The middle third include Frazier, Bruce, and Marlon Byrd, and then the 7-hitter Brian Pena. Ivan DeJesus Jr. gets the start at second base, batting 8th. and Raisel Iglesias will bat ninth. On the mound, the man they call Big Game, James Shields.
Well, they also call him Complete Game James Shields, because he completed 11 of those in 2011. He signed to a long-term deal here. Will not be a free agent until after the 2018 season. They thought he would anchor the staff and get him a lot of wins, but the Padres have not gotten him a lot of run support. Fastball runs about 92, 93. He used to be a guy that would throw fastball changeup primarily, but now he mixes it up. Throws some curveballs, throws some cutters and changeups, and all of those secondary pitches he splits just about equally.
Well, he was a workhorse when he was with Tampa Bay the last couple of years. Same story in Kansas City. Helped them get to the World Series last year, and now this year he signs a 4-year contract with this San Diego club. Billy Hamilton leads things off, and he is quickly ahead. 3 balls and no strikes. Billy at 222 with 3 home runs. 1 hit so far in this series. As you expect, way in at third is Solarte. And after getting ahead 3-0, it's now a full count to the Reds' leadoff man. This is ideally, of course, where they'd like to see the Reds would with Billy Hamilton out of the 1 spot.
What they really like to see him is over there at first base.
Hits this ball sinking fast and dropping in front of Justin Upton in left field, so they get their wish, as do we. A base hit for Billy Hamilton to get this game started.
Billy not sure if that ball's going to stay fair or not. I think he kind of hesitates in the batter's box. Upton comes in and realizes that it's going to take a dive in order for him to keep that ball from falling in front of him, and he watches it get in front of him. So Billy now on with a leadoff single.
Mentioned he had only 1 hit in the series, but it is the 5th time he has been on base. He walked twice on Monday, had a hit and reached on an error last night. Leads off the game with a base hit here. He's held at first by Alonso. Billy, of course, this year leads the big leagues in steals, 52 out of 59. Closing in on the number that he had a year ago, and he was second to D. Gordon with 56.
The league is running a little bit on Shields this year. They have stolen 12. They have thrown out 6. Padre catchers have. He has picked off a couple. Shields has, but overall, that's one part of his game. I'm not so sure that he really pays that much attention to holding runners, although in this league this year it becomes more important than over in the American League. They do have a good catch throw guy behind the plate in Derek Norris, although he's a good offensive hitter, catcher. They like his arm strength.
He's thrown out, what did I read, 28 would-be base stealers this year. Another first-year Padre acquired from Oakland in the offseason. Suarez, who sat out last night in deference to Ivan DeJesus Jr. getting the start at shortstop, finds himself with a ball and a strike. Here's those numbers we were talking about regarding Derek Norris. 28 would-be base stealers, cut down, the most in the National League. Suarez starts the game just under 300 at 298 with 6 home runs. One of those home runs came in the series at Arizona. He plays in the 2 spot in the batting order for the 2nd straight game in which he has been in there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Brandon Phillips gets the day off today. So Hamilton elevated to the number 1 spot in the batting order.
Suarez must really feel like that he is beginning to get some recognition for what he's done offensively. Because if you keep plugging away and hitting hard and really out hitting the guys that are hitting above you in the lineup but never get moved, you're wondering what they're looking at. But the Reds have finally put him in the number 2 spot. and he's a guy that gives you a little bit of power from that number 2 spot. So many times that number 2 hitter is a guy that, you know, you're thinking about hitting runs with. He can bunt well, you know, he's an okay base runner. But Suarez has that extra dimension of being able to take you deep if you hang a pitch out at the center of the plate.
And that skim him? It did. It got the jersey Suarez, and so the Reds get the first 2 on in this game, as they did last night in inning number 1.
Boy, pitchers just hate that. I mean, you throw a ball inside and it just barely grazes your uniform.
8th batter that Shields has hit this year. Oh, this right-hander out of Newhall, California, up near the Los Angeles area. Finds himself working from the stretch quickly. 2 on and nobody out for Votto, who lines the first pitch he sees into right. Hamilton is going to be held by Jim Riggleman at third. And now when the throw goes into second, he comes home to score. And the Reds have taken a 1-0 lead. We'll hopefully get a look at that again, because Billy Hamilton had been given the stop sign and had slowed down coming around third, held up by Jim Riggleman.
Well, all's well that ends well, and for this the Reds end up getting a run right here. Joey Votto picks on the first pitch, lines it into right field. Hit hard, and maybe that's why Riggleman didn't want to send Billy Hamilton the first time, but the right fielder Matt Kemp had no indication at all that he was going to throw it home, and Billy reads that ball going into second base, so the Reds put that run on the board after all.
That is a good read right there by Billy, isn't it? Wow. Nice
All you got to do
job.
is turn your head and follow the baseball.
And he did, and the Reds have taken a 1-0 lead here in the first. Give Votto an RBI, number 52 for him. He hadn't driven in a run in almost 2 weeks, so good to see that occur for Joey. Here's Todd Frazier. Big night for him last night, 3 for 4, including that home run that boomed off his bat in the 9th inning.
You might say the Reds are due. I mean, yes, they scored 6 runs last night, but they were almost like grudge points when you're down 8-0 after 2 innings, and then 11-0 at one point. You know, any runs you put on the board just make the score look really closer than it really was. But I would imagine that this ball club feels like they are due for a big offensive day.
Now, they were out of it early last night, 3-0 after 1, 8-0 after 2, and 11-0 after 3. They jump in front here this afternoon.
You know, Shields is a pitcher that this year has given up more home runs in 146 or so innings than he did all of last year, totaling more than 227 innings. So in 80 fewer innings, he's given up more home runs this year in a ballpark that is supposedly a ballpark that is tough to hit homers in. So that may be a factor here in today's game too.
Late cut there by Todd Frazier. Looked like he may have been guessing something different than what he ended up getting. He's a strikeout victim for out number 1. There's what you're talking about. 1.5 homers per 9 this year. His highest since 2010. He's always been a guy that gives up home runs.
Fly ball pitcher.
But in giving up 34 in 2010, the most in the American League when he was back then with the Rays.
Of course, when you're pitching in the American League East and you're going into New York and you're going into Boston and then Toronto and Baltimore, I mean, you're going to give up some home runs, especially in that new Yankee Stadium in Camden Yards in Baltimore. Balls are just flying out of there. He spent 13 and 14 in Kansas City. And his home run totals for those last couple of years have gone down a little bit until this year in San Diego.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Bruce as he chases that one out of the strike zone. Jay comes in at 246 with 18 home runs, but only 2 hits in his last 32 at bats. Yeah, talking about James Shields in Kansas City, he led the American League in starts each of his 2 years there as a Royal. 13-9 2 years ago, 14-8 in their World Series year last year. To center, and Venable first came in, now goes back. He's not going to get to it. That ball is off the wall. Here comes a runner to the plate, Suarez, followed by Votto. All the way to third is Jay Bruce. 2 RBIs for the Reds right fielder, and a 3-run first for Cincinnati so far against James Shields.
Well, Jay got this ball, and I think that Joey Votto was certain that no one was going to catch it. Venable was playing him fairly shallow, and he had to go back a long, long way. The ball just kept carrying and carrying, and off the wall it goes. Just about the exact opposite of what happened to the Reds last night when they went out and gave up a 3-spot in the first inning. Three of the first 4 batters scored against them last night, and here the first 3 batters in this lineup have scored here in the first inning today.
Venable may have, had he not gotten quite as close to the wall, been able to hold Bruce to a double, but you saw that ball bounce away from him. He was right on top of the wall, and it hit up 3/4 of the way up the wall on the fly. Jay ends up with a 3-base hit. The infield in now for Marlon Byrd for Jay Bruce. That is triple number 4, and that's tops on this Reds team this year. Byrd didn't start last night. Did have a pinch hit appearance late in the game. Comes into the contest at 243 with 19 home runs. Pinch hit in the 7th inning last night and struck out. Shields making only his 2nd start ever against the Reds. The first time he started against them, he wore the uniform of the Tampa Bay Rays. Pitched against the Reds down there in St. Pete. That's a strikeout of Byrd. 2 outs in the inning, both on strikeouts. That will be Brian Pena. Here's the Padres defensive look, brought to you by Ford. Justin Upton left, Will Venable center, Matt Kemp in right. Infielders Solarte and Amarista on the left side, Jerko and Alonso on the right side, a battery of James Shields and Derek Norris. Shields lost to the Reds down in Tampa Bay back in 11, in a game in which he struck out 10, went 7 innings, and was beaten in that game by a guy who's now with Kansas City but was not his teammate in KC, Edinson Volquez. They missed each other by a year. Pena at 281 with 13 runs batted in. A couple of hits in the game here on Monday. Cracks this ball deep into the right field corner, and that ball is foul. That was as close as you can get out there, just to the right of the foul pole at the 322 mark. It looked like Pena there had an opportunity for his first home run since at Yankee Stadium right after the All-Star break last year. Just foul and just shy. They shift Pena on the infield, 3 infielders on the right side. This will get a run. Now this will be the 3rd out, and out at first. So Jerko throws out Pena to Alonso at first. The Reds get 3, off to a good start for Raisel Iglesias. First inning, thanks to his mates, an RBI single by Votto, a 2-run triple by Jay Bruce. The Reds have a 3-0 lead going into the bottom of the first. Here's the lineup that Iglesias will face for San Diego. Solarte will lead it off. Then the former Red Yonder Alonso, and then Matt Kemp. Middle third include Justin Upton, Jed Jerko, and Derek Norris. In the bottom three, Will Venable. The pitcher, James Shields, batting 8th. And Amarista batting 9th for the Padres. Shields batting 8th. Marks only the second time all year, and it's both been Shields that the pitcher for the Padres has hit out of the 8th spot. Here's the right-hander Raisel Iglesias making start number 10, appearance number 12.
Don't be misled at all by that 2-win, 4-loss record from Iglesias. The Reds don't score him very many runs. He's pitched really much better baseball than that would indicate. 53 strikeouts in as many innings. He's only given up 5 home runs. Been really, in my estimation, the most impressive of all the young pitchers the Reds have brought up. Now, DeSclafani's been good and bad, and mainly good, but you just watch Iglesias, and he's entertaining to watch. He is not a guy that is a power pitcher in the sense that he's learned how to pitch in the weight room. He uses a lot of movement, changes arm angles a little bit, and just seems to be understands the art of pitching better than most young pitchers do.
Gets ahead of Solarte, 2 strikes. Misses here outside a ball.
Tell you what else he does. He controls the pace of the game. I mean, he gets that baseball and he is ready to go.
I don't think it's a stretch to say that in his starts, the first 4 innings he has been dominant in games. A 2.25 ERA the first 4, close to 10 after that, but he comes into this one having pitched very well his last 4 times out, really dating back to the middle of July. There's a ball that hits Solarte. So hit batsman on each side here in the first inning.
He's feeling the pain from that one. I mean, he lifted his arms to try and get out of the way, and it got him right underneath the arm in the top part of the rib cage. You know, one of the things that I think has really helped Raisel Iglesias is the fact that he has Brian Pena behind the plate catching him. You know, he's also a Cuban. And there's a lot to adjust to when you come over from Cuba. And Iglesias has not been over here all that long. And Brian Pena is like a mentor, a brother, a catcher, a pitching coach. All of those things kind of wrapped into one to help Iglesias, you know, shortcut all the things that you have to do to figure out what American life is like and what big league baseball is all about.
Yeah, Iglesias has cited both Pena and Aroldis Chapman as major reasons he went ahead and signed with Cincinnati. 2 Cubans already on this team that he could talk to and relate to. Base hit to center field here by Yonder Alonso. Continues his attack on Reds pitching. Not only this year, but in his career, and the first 2 are on. How about the Reds' defensive look? Brought to you by your Ford dealers. We've got Burt, Hamilton, Bruce across the outfield. Frazier, Suarez, DeJesus Jr. subbing in for Brandon Phillips today at second, and then Votto at first. Pena catches Iglesias. The Reds get the first 2 on. In fact, get the first 3 on. Score 3 times in the first. Padres get the first 2 on here in the bottom of number 1. Now Matt Kemp out of the number 3 spot. Big power hitter stands in there. 11 home runs, 60 RBIs for Kemp. A hit last night in 3 at bats plus a walk. A modest 5-game hitting streak going. Kemp still has 4 years left on his long-term deal he signed with the Dodgers. 8-year deal with $160 million. It doesn't end until the end of the 2019 season. Justin Upton on deck. How about the uniforms today, Chris, that the Padres are wearing? You mentioned earlier it is way back Wednesdays here in San Diego.
Well, they're going way back, but maybe not as far as way back to the times that I played here in the early 80s. These are more mid-80s uniforms. They stuck with the brown color, brown helmets and so on before they had the complete color shift. It's a little bit more conventional than the old uniform, the old Padre uniforms with the yellow sanitary socks and white shoes.
Kemp hits it well toward left. Bird chasing. Tie game. Just when we were singing the praises of Iglesias in his first 4-inning work.
I don't think anybody could have looked at this ball game and said, especially with the way that these two pitchers have been pitching, that, you know, by the time the first inning ends, and it's not over yet, there would be 6 runs scored. Well, he just hangs that pitch down and in, and dropping the head is Matt Kemp.
Number 12 for Kemp, give him 63 runs batted in. Give the Padres and James Shields new life in a 3-3 game here in the bottom of number 1, and nobody out. Now it's Justin Upton. Padres have had a home run now in each series, or in each game of this series. Upton hit one on Monday. Turned out to be the difference in the game, a 2-run shot. Jed Jerko's on deck, had one last night, and now Matt Kemp unloads here in the first against Iglesias. Chance to start anew now for the right-hander. 3-3 game here in the bottom of the first. Three and one. That is ball 4. Upton stood there for a moment, thinking he may have been clipped by that pitch. Ball got away from Pena. It's a walk. So the first 4 Padres are on here in the first inning, and that'll mean a visit to the mound by Jeff Pico. Iglesias coming off a very good start against the Arizona Diamondbacks earlier in this road trip. He pitched on Friday. First game of the series out there. Reds lost 2-0, but he allowed just 1 run, 3 hits in 6 innings. You couple that with the appearance he made at home against Pittsburgh, a 2-run 6 2/3 innings outing. He really was coming off back-to-back very fine starts. And bump on the road here early on in this game in San Diego. Here now is Jed Jerko, second baseman. Upton does have 18 steals, held over there at first by Joey Votto. That's tops on this San Diego team. In fact, they have but 2 players, Upton and Will Venable, who are in double figures in stolen bases on the year. Foul ball back. Iglesias misses high, and now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jericho drove in 4 runs in last night's game. 2-run single in the first, 2-run homer in the second, and he is a strikeout victim here. The first out of this inning.
Well, you see what they're trying to do with Jericho, and that's about the spot where he hit the home run last night on a ball that kind of floated on the inner part of the plate. He just laid on that 92-mile-an-hour fastball. You can see the movement that Iglesias has, and he's got nice whip action with his arm and a little bit of a flick at the end of his wrist, and that's where he gets that extra life.
And now's the catcher, Derek Norris. First time we've actually seen Norris behind the plate in this series. First 2 games, Austin Hedges did the catching. Norris played first base on Monday. Not in there yesterday.
I think they wanted to give him a few days off from behind the plate because he had been really getting beat up. A lot of foul balls directly to the mask and off the rest of his body, and just trying to keep his bat in the lineup. He played first base on the first game of this series. And also try to give him a rest a little bit.
There's a step off as a runner takes off, and there's the throw. Nicely done by Iglesias. That takes some concentration right there.
Well, it takes coolness and calmness on the mound, and that's one thing Iglesias has. I mean, somebody yelled to him, "Step off," and he may not speak a lot of English, but he knows what that means.
And he did it correctly. Out at second base is Justin Upton, caught stealing for only the 2nd time this year. Now if Iglesias can deal with Derek Norris, he'll get through this inning with a game tied. Norris hitting .240, dozen home runs on the year. Slices this ball into right center. Billy on the run. Billy dives. Looked like the wind may have gotten a hold of that ball. He didn't get it, and it's going to go for a double for Derek Norris. He took an angle back. That ball died up in the air. Dove on him. He couldn't get there. Tries to make the adjustment. Unable to get there.
Well, Hamilton, we're used to him just running these balls down, even though he started a long way off, but he was shaded a little bit into left field. But as you see, when he dives, he's diving back towards the infield a little bit. And I think you're right, Jim Kelch, that the wind really caught that ball and kind of knocked it down. The prevailing wind here comes in from the west, which would be from left field to right field. And that may have taken that ball just a little bit away from Billy Hamilton. You don't see it there with those flags, but if you find the flags that are like up above the stadium level, you'll see the wind blows pretty good.
To third, diving stop by Frazier, and a nice throw across to retire Will Venable and put an end to the bottom of the first. But here in San Diego, both teams put up a 3 spot in number 1. game, expect a low-scoring game. Now a little bit of change of fortune. Marcell Iglesias, James Shields haven't been getting a whole lot of run support. You see Iglesias only 10 in his last 7 starts. A little bit more for Shields, 12 in his last 10. But each has been given 3 early runs in today's game. So in effect, this is an 8-inning game now, 3-3 score into inning number 2. Let's see who will settle into this one. Shields against Ivan DeJesus to lead off here in the top of the second. Started shortstop last night for Ivan. Started second base today against this right-hander Shields, who's had an interesting season. He's made 24 starts. Shields got off to a terrific start this year. In fact, he was 7-0 out of the gate through his first 12 starts. Things have changed for him mightily. He's only won 1 game since that time. First 12 starts, his team, the Padres, 9-3. He was 7-0. His last 12 starts, they're 2-10.
You know, we go back to it all the time as to how do you rate starting pitching, and maybe wins and losses are one of the worst indicators. In the last 11 starts that Shields has had, they've only scored a total of 14 runs. So he has not had much of a margin with which to work. I mean, getting 3 runs in a ball game for Shields is like hitting a mother load. Unfortunately, his team was already down by 3 when they scored him.
That's a strikeout of DeJesus, who did go hitless last night, ending a streak in which he had a hit in 7 consecutive starts. He was 0 for 4 last night. Strikeout victory number 3 in this game.
You know, one of the things that James Shields likes to do as a pitcher is something that we saw Johnny Cueto do a lot of, which is throw changeups down and into right-handed hitters. You know, conventional wisdom is you save your changeup for lefties if you're a right-handed pitcher, and you throw your slider to get right-handers to swing and miss. But Shields will throw that changeup down and in and add a whole new dimension to coming on the inner part of the plate.
Wind works on this ball, but staying with it out there is Kim. Out number 2.
Boy, after a long first inning, he's looking at an easy 1-2-3 inning here if he can retire Hamilton. He had 31 in the first inning. And this will be number 8 in this inning. There's a flag that we were talking about. I mean, that's way up there, up near probably 15 stories high, but that shows you the prevailing wind here coming in off the ocean, across Coronado Island, and right into the mainland in San Diego.
Hamilton with 2 men out, had a base hit his first time into left field. Scored on the hit by Votto. One ball, 2 strikes. Hamilton strikes out, 2 of them in the inning for James Shields. So after giving up 3 in the first, a perfect second. Tony Perez. Arrive early, witness the unveiling of the legendary first baseman's bronze statue, and there will be special on-field pregame ceremonies as well. Plus, the first 30,000 in attendance will receive a replica Tony Perez statue. All of that presented by La Rosa's. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets. Big day indeed coming up 10 days from today, honoring Tony Perez. Great American Ballpark. Pitcher against pitcher here to get things going in the bottom of the second. James Shields batting eighth. Mentioned it's only the second time this year that the Padres have had their pitcher hit eighth, and both times it's been Shields. Both times it's been with Pat Murphy as their manager after he replaced Bud Black. Batting ninth for San Diego is Alexi Amarista. He waits on deck. Shields, you mentioned, been a real workhorse for whatever team he is on. He's had 8 straight years of 200+ innings, 8 straight years of 30+ starts, 8 straight years double-figure wins.
Not bad at all for a guy that was chosen by the Rays as a 16th round draft pick in 2000. He turned down a full scholarship at Louisiana State University to sign with the Rays after attending high school in Santa Clarita, California.
A long way from California to Louisiana to go to college.
I believe he was named the California Player of the Year when he was a junior in high school, so that'll get you some attention all around the country. Of course, Raisel Iglesias, raised essentially on the other corner of North America when you consider the fact that he is from an island just south of Cuba, Isla del Juventud, which is translated Isle of Youth, but we may have known it over the years as Isle of Pines. Name was changed in the late 70s. In fact, the United States almost had that island. The Cubans ended up getting that island. It was more of a political decision than an international rights decision, and that ratified back by the United States government in 1925 gave Cuba essentially control of the island, which sits about 50 miles or 50 kilometers south of the main island of Cuba.
Good geography lesson there, and as that relates to baseball, you know, I didn't know that the Reds used to have their AAA club down in Havana.
They did indeed.
That was way back in the mid-50s. The second straight called third strike from Iglesias against San Diego. First Shields, now Amarista. Two out for Yangervis Solarte.
Just nice movement on that fastball, and that's a part of the plate that's very difficult to get back movement on. That little front door fastball is a tough pitch to learn unless you already have some good action on your delivery. One last thought on the home island of Raisel Iglesias. That was actually, there are accounts in Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island that are rooted in Isla de la Juventud.
Hamilton will get to this ball, and he saves a base hit for Raisel Iglesias. And so, like his counterpart James Shields, he has a 1-2-3 second. photo using hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Looking for your tweet. Send it to us. Let's see if we can get you involved. 3-3 game into the third. Suarez leads things off against James Shields. Shields has walked no, and he has struck out 4. 2 in the first, 2 in the second. You get Suarez, Votto, Frazier here in the third. Cam's going to handle this ball for out number 1.
Well, way back Wednesday here at Petco Park, it's more than just wearing throwback uniforms like the Padres are doing today. On the scoreboard, they have photoshopped some photos of the Reds players and what they would have been like back in the day when the Padres were really wearing these uniforms. I particularly like the one of Joey Votto. Jay Bruce even had good hair back in those days. Marlin. And Brian Pena has not changed a bit.
Even as a youngster, he had a goatee. That's funny stuff.
Very
right
nice
there.
guys. Yeah, they do a good job here. Have a little fun with it.
You know, we were talking about Havana and the Reds AAA club, and looking at a list of teams. I didn't realize also that San Diego itself, San Diego was a Reds AAA affiliate.
Yes, it was.
Before they were a big league team. That was back in the early to mid 60s.
I believe the Havana team, was that the Sugar Kings?
I think you're right.
And the San Diego team.
The Gulls, maybe? Not positive of that.
Seals? Well, I'm thinking of San Francisco Seals.
Now here, look, they had the Padres name. They were the Padres. Tony Perez, Tommy Helms, Sammy Ellis. Some of the names that Reds fans would recognize that played out here for San Diego.
So what did they tell players when they were sent from San Diego to Cincinnati? We're sending you down to Cincinnati?
Well, they probably thought that in terms of the weather.
Well, they used to say that about the Padres when the Padres had a AAA team in Hawaii.
Frazier lines this ball toward the corner in left field. Votto had a base hit earlier. He's going to end up at third. 4th hit now in the last 2 days for Todd Frazier. 3rd extra base hit for him in that grouping, and it is 2nd and 3rd with 1 out.
Boy, it's all about timing, isn't it? And sometimes when you're out of sync, you just look like you're completely lost. And Frazier can look as bad as anybody. But when he is on the beam and he's seeing it well now, he's not fouling that pitch off. He is just leveling that pitch right on the screws.
Our thanks, by the way, to Brian Hunterman, our director out here in San Diego, for coming up with some of those names of Reds players who played out here in San Diego, and this was the AAA club.
Well, Brian has worked for the Reds for so long, and back in the old days of the scoreboard at Riverfront Stadium, and he's very knowledgeable about Reds history.
Wasn't he a groundskeeper at one time, too, I believe? I think he worked in the groundskeeping area.
I didn't know that about Brian. I know that Gary Wayhoff was once the head groundskeeper for Riverfront.
One of those things back in those days, they had the artificial turf, and you said you were on the grounds crew at the ballpark. It's like, what do you do? You don't have to cut grass. You don't have to do any of that. What do you do?
Well, you clean up after Shotzi. Or you would drive the Zamboni around, and of course Brian Hunterman was one of those rare people that has that little license tag on the back of their car. This is my other car is a Zamboni, where it was actually the truth.
Those things were interesting back in the turf days before the turf drained through, because that water would just sit there and they'd use the Zamboni to spray it out toward the outfield. Then they have to go back and spray it a little bit more until finally they could get it off the field.
That's a
a
balk.
balk. You cannot fake anymore to third, and Shields is upset with himself because he realizes now that he made a mistake, and the Reds will take a 4-3 lead. What is that, 2 years ago that this rule was implicated?
He's just in the spirit of things here on way back Wednesday, because way back when you could do that. I mean, talk about fully embracing the theme of the day. Shields is on it. I'm going to make believe it's 1987. Oh.
He realizes now, look at him, he's chastising himself. He commits the balk, and now they will go ahead and intentionally walk Bruce with a count, 1 ball and no strikes, bringing up Marlon Byrd, setting up what they hope is an inning-ending double play. So balk gets Votto home and sends Frazier to third. Intentional walk given to Bruce after a 1-ball count. Now Marlon Byrd with runners at the corners and 1 out. And again, I think it was like 2 years ago when they implemented that new rule where you could no longer fake to third unless you step off.
Correct. You can still fake the second.
Right. Here now is Byrd, who struck out his first time.
Well, Shields, just looking it up now, has 8, now make it 9 balks in his career, which is quite a lot for a right-handed pitcher.
Bruce on the move. The throw down is high, and a stolen base for the Reds right fielder, his 7th of the year.
A little sneak attack by Jay Bruce. Had that throw be a little bit lower here, they would have had him, but he was able to slide under the tag.
You use an interesting term, sneak attack, because other than Billy Hamilton, most of the Reds stolen bases, it seemed, fall into that category.
And you steal it off the pitcher in those cases. You get the feeling that pitchers are just not paying attention to you, and of course a lot of that is scouted. Reds have done a really fine job this year on trying to find weakness on the opposition with pitchers, especially relievers come into a game who are not used to holding runners as much. You steal bases late in the game there. There's Brian Price thinking about that. Actually, it's Mike Stefanski, the catcher's coach out in the bullpen, is responsible for preparing a lot of those stolen base type reports.
Byrd strikes out, number 5 for Shields. That'll be Pena with 2 out. Just a reminder, as you enjoy this afternoon's game, we look forward to passing along a little bit later on our Miller Time moment of today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Pena bounced out to the second baseman, Jerko, his first time. Big chance now here for the Reds. Second and third, 2 out, leading by a run. Pena 13 RBIs, but they have been few and far between for this guy. Only has 2 of them since the middle of June. Pena hitting .237 with runners in scoring position. Now he'll get a look at a 2-0 pitch. Frazier and Bruce lead away on their respective bases. Now 3-0 to Pena. DeJesus is on deck. Reds trying to avoid the same fate out here in San Diego this year that befell them a year ago. That's a 4-pitch walk by Shields to Pena. Second walk of the inning by the Padre right-hander, although the other one to Bruce was semi-intentional, and now they're loaded with 2 out.
That could have been semi-intentional. Look a little bit like a pitch around. Big chance now for DeJesus.
Reds in the first 2 games of this series were a collective 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. 2 for 6 already today. That'll go down as a check swing strike. This has been the offensive constant, really, with this team over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, and that is the inability to consistently hit with runners in scoring position. Started this series at .212, the worst in the big leagues. Have been down in that area most all of this year. Now DeJesus down 2 strikes. Missed out on some golden opportunities on Monday night with the bases loaded 2 out. Suarez had a couple of chances. Padres were able to get him once to pop up, once to fly out, leaving the bases loaded on 2 occasions. DeJesus just does stay alive. Reds off to Los Angeles after this game. They'll start a 4-game series against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium tomorrow night. DeJesus, a strikeout victim. 2 more in this inning. 6th of them in the game for Shields. The Reds lead by a run.
Marcell Iglesias goes back to the hill, and it was 1 year ago today that we first got our eyes on Marcell Iglesias and was able to hear him talk through an interpreter, because it was 1 year ago that he held his first press conference in Cincinnati. As you look at the timeline, 2014, the Reds signed him to a 7-year deal. Then that press conference, pitched in the Arizona Fall League, and made his major league debut this season, April 12th. And it was interesting to hear Brian Price talk about when they initially scouted Marcell Iglesias. Once he defected from Cuba, he sought refuge in Haiti. And Haiti, you know, it's a rough situation in Haiti. They had a video that they looked at, and basically all he was pitching off of was a pile of dirt that they put together in Haiti. It didn't even have a rubber on it. And through that video, they thought enough of his electric arm to send some Reds officials to Haiti and eventually sign him. But think about that. Just a pile of dirt in Haiti with no rubber. That's how good an arm he had. From the video, it stood out.
And it's really amazing that they can see what they can see based on the circumstance that surrounds these guys. And you think back at it from that to where he is now, it's an amazing climb.
You know, it really is amazing, especially from a scouting standpoint, because when you're talking about a first-round draft pick that you're not even committing nearly as much money normally to as you did Raisel Iglesias, you have all sorts of cross-checkers looking at him. You've got your main people from your front office, maybe your top scouts, maybe even one of your pro coaches coming in to see a guy. If he's a high school player, certainly if he's a college player, you have hours and hours of tape and video that you can look at. You've got numbers that you can begin to, you know, put the sabermetric formula to and find out what kind of a college pitcher he is and so on. But when you're, you know, scouting a guy like Iglesias, it takes a little bit of a good eye and a little bit of luck, I think, in the long run to hope that the guy you commit a lot of money to turns out to be the player that you thought you're getting. And I think in the Reds' case, they're getting even more than they thought they would from Iglesias, who's pitching mighty fine baseball here in the major leagues.
I think it's good movement on that ball and strikes out fellow Cuban Yonder Alonso. Out number 1 here in the bottom of the 3rd. Here's Matt Kemp. Kemp a home run to left. His 12th of the year, his first time. After the Reds had staked Iglesias to a 3-0 lead, the swing by Kemp tied the game. Well, he's always done well against the Reds. Wearing a Dodger uniform for all those years, again this year. He's hit a dozen home runs coming in, and now with his one today, 13 career home runs against Reds pitching. Talking about that upcoming Dodger series, the game tomorrow night, 10-10, 9:30 on Fox Sports Ohio. And how about the Dodger pitcher tomorrow night? None other than the former Red Matt Latos. Reds thought they may see Latos down in Miami right before the All-Star break. He came up with, I think it was a bad foot injury, a bruised foot. Didn't pitch in that game. Has since been traded to the Dodgers and will start tomorrow night against Kivas Sampson at Dodger Stadium.
Well, that is 4 strikeouts out of the last 5 hitters for Iglesias, even though it was caught kind of a funky motion. That the ball never really broke as much as Brian Pena thought it would. And he catches it on the inside corner, freezes everybody. Kemp goes down, retired after hitting that home run in the first inning.
So now it's Justin Upton with 2 men out. Since that shaky early part of the first, Iglesias has settled into this game. He had a 1-2-3 second, looking to follow that up with another one here in the 3rd. Upton walked his first time and then tried a bit of a delayed steal, kind of to catch Iglesias maybe panicky out there on the mound. He took off, but Iglesias stepped off, calmly threw to DeJesus, who put the tag on. Only the second time that Upton had been caught stealing this year. Now 2-2 as Iglesias looks to strike out the side. Here in the 3rd, Jerko on deck. And he does, as he gets up and reaching for that breaking ball. 3 in a row. 5 of the last 6 have gone down on strikes. Teams jump on the offensive bandwagon in the first. Each scored 3 times. And now back to the mound goes James Shields, and he'll get Raisel Iglesias to lead things off.
And how appropriate would it be on way back Wednesday? We bring a pitcher in from way back with the Padres. A Cy Young Award winner, left-hander Randy Jones. Welcome to Reds baseball, Randy.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's great to be here.
What are you doing nowadays?
Well, you know, we've been working for the ball club the last 25 years, doing some PR work, a little Randy Jones barbecue here in the ballpark, do pre- and post-game radio. You know, my dad always told me I had a face for radio, so me being coachable, Jim, I just said, I think I'll do that.
You've got barbecue places all around the ballpark, huh?
I got 5 of them. They're called the RJ Grill. I've been doing that for 23 years now. Actually, I stole Boog Powell's idea. He started it in Baltimore, and I thought, hey, why couldn't I do that here? So I stole this idea and started it here 23 years ago.
Hey, let's go back to the mid-'70s when we talk about the mid-'70s in Cincinnati. All we really think about is the big red machine, you know, Rose and Perez and Bench and Foster and so on, and the World Series championships. But the pitching in the league back in the mid-'70s was right here in San Diego. You were a 20-game loser in 1974. Then you won 20 in 75. You won 22 in 1976, and you won the Cy Young Award.
Yeah, I turned it around pretty well, I think, from 74 when I lost 22. But, you know, made some adjustments, got some confidence, learned how to pitch a little bit better, and we got on a roll. Had 2 great years, a lot of innings, a lot of pitches.
I mean, a lot of pitches, you had 40 starts and 15 innings?
25 complete games that year.
How do you have 25 complete games?
Well, if you'd have seen our bullpen, you'd have finished them too. These guys couldn't get anybody out, man, so I just finished. That's what you do, boys.
Now, you were never really known as a hard thrower, but when you started throwing the bat, how hard was your fastball?
Well, I could get it up to 85, 86, but, you know, pretty much in the tail of fastball pretty flat. And as soon as I got to about 80, that's when the sinker would take over, and the ball would sink an awful lot. So from 80 to, 72 miles an hour, I could vary the speeds. Instead of just a straight change, I would just change speeds on my own by dragging my back foot a little bit more, a little bit less, and just try to get hitters on their front foot.
Do you think that style of pitching would work now?
No, you never get drafted when you throw 85. Everybody's got a radar gun. You got to hit. If you're not hitting 90, I'm not sure I'd get an opportunity today.
Could you get big league hitters out with the same style that you pitched back then?
No doubt in my mind. I can get these hitters out.
Now, you got Pete Rose out, has more hits than anybody in baseball. Pete Rose in his career hit 183 off of you. And from what I understand, he switch hitter, always batted right-handed, until one day he figured, I can't hit him right-handed, I'm going to hit him left-handed.
It was hilarious. Yeah, it was a Sunday day game, and he came up and he wanted to hit left-handed, and I actually looked at him and I looked at him and go, you sure you want to do this? And he turns around and goes, you just pitch. And the poor guy threw him 3 sliders on the outside black. He never moved his bat, and I punched him out. Poor guy. Never had a chance.
Randy, stay with us another half inning, will you?
Love to.
Start to this game has had back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings. He has struck out 6. 5 of the last 6, in fact, have gone down on strikes against this right-hander who's making his 10th start of the year. First year, of course, with the Reds. First year in the big leagues. So there's his line thus far. Randy, I know you've seen just a little bit of him, but what are your early impressions of this guy?
I'm very impressed. He gets down at a 2-seam fastball, a lot of sink to it. I mean, you got to put it in a better location, but I love his movement. The breaking ball is a little bit flat, but with all the movement you have on the 2-seam fastball, it's a good pitch, because he's just changing the eye angle.
Now, if you're throwing, between 76 and 85 miles an hour, can you pitch inside, Randy?
Well, you can. You have to do it correctly. All you're going to do is get him to pull it foul and pick up a quick strike. You're not going to usually get an out. You're setting up something else.
Maybe that one right there.
Right there, as a matter of fact. and many a time I would do that. You get a dead pull hitter and take advantage of his aggressiveness. I gave him to pull 2 balls down the right field line. Now I got him 0-2. And I guarantee you I'm not going to hit that outside black 4 times in a row. I will not miss it 4 times. You're in trouble.
We were talking in the inning break that your infielders must have loved you. I mean, those games moved along.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think my quickest game was an hour and 27. Jim Cotton and I had an hour and 27, not any game. But I think the average, the year I won the Cy Young, an hour and 58 minutes was the average time of my games.
They'll get their money's worth watching you, but didn't get their money's worth out of the concessions, did they?
Well, I pitched to contact, and I think I beat Pittsburgh one day through 68 pitches in a 9-inning game, and Whitey Wiedelman was one of our coaches, and he told me, he goes, 59 were strikes out of the 68 pitches I threw that day. Just one of those days they want to swing the bat. I go, here you go.
Well, I wanted to send you to the bullpen to get some more throwing in after the game.
It just amazing. Of course, I had those days too where I throw 132 and it was ugly.
I think it's extraordinarily interesting, Randy, that you feel that in today's ball game that same style of pitching would still work.
You know why I say that? I mean, 93, 94 is standard fastball, I think, today, gentlemen. But you'll notice most of your pitchers, young pitchers, you'll watch these kids. When they're going to get really good and really be effective in the big leagues is when they learn the off-speed pitch. When they understand less is better. Now, it's great. I'd love to have 93 miles an hour. Didn't have it, so I had to go the other way. But I mean, once they learn how to use the off-speed pitches, you know, that's when they really become successful and they learn how to win.
It takes a big leap of faith, though, doesn't it, for a kid to, you know, who has been successful by throwing it by hitters all his life and come up here and say, okay, now you have to have confidence in throwing it, you know, less rather than more.
Well, that's why I respect the Reds. You got 5, you know, rookie starters right now. They are going to learn. The only way you learn is get out there and fail, get beat up a little bit, you know, and you'll put it together a lot quicker than if you're just down in the minor leagues trying to throw fastballs by somebody. Up here, at least they'll let you know that's not going to work.
Well, people are a little concerned about, for instance, last night's starter, Michael Lorenzen, the #1 pick, who got beat. He's been getting beat around a little bit.
Yeah, and he's failing. He's making mistakes, and that's how you learn. Now, you can't actually say that, you know, he's gonna learn. You hope he does. But this is a great opportunity for the Reds to find out what you've got, who's going to be effective. But I've been, you know, I like Holmberg, I like the left-hander. He's got an idea, you know, and he changes speeds. I like the four-seamer. And right here, Iglesias, I love his two-seam fastball.
Yeah.
Once he's got to get better command of that, and he already realizes that. But it's easier said than done. That's a work in progress. But he, you know, you've seen him here the last couple innings. He can be really effective down in the zone.
Well, you are very enthusiastic about baseball and the art of pitching still, aren't you?
Oh, I just absolutely love it, gentlemen. It's great. Never a dull moment.
Randy, this ball club this year, the Padres, that is, you know, they were thought by many professional prognosticators to be the team to beat in the National League. What happened?
Well, starting pitching. Pitching really let them down early. He still really hasn't stepped it up. I thought the starters, the veteran guys we had, would come out, slam the door like we saw last year. Just hasn't happened for whatever reason. Very, very inconsistent. You know, and then you compound that with a lineup that, you know, can't hit with runners in scoring position, and that's when it really gets complicated. But it all starts on the mound and the starting pitching.
The Padres, for the last number of years, has had such good pitching, particularly like we mentioned last year, had the best bullpen in the big leagues. So they go out and try to fix things offensively, and that doesn't work out, and then the pitching kind of fails.
And that's where it gets, that compounds it. He really thought the pitching was going to be our strength once again this year, and it's really been kind of a disappointment.
Well, Randy, it's been great to visit with you here, and every time I come to San Diego, I'm looking for you. Of course, I'm looking for your barbecue stands,
well, of course,
too.
Yeah. There you go.
Can you let us in on your secret for that great barbecue?
Well,
what do you do?
It's just a great sauce that my grandpa, you know, had when I was growing up as a little kid, and I duplicated it, and I've been using it ever since. And just to have a lot of fun interacting with all the fans here in San Diego for all these years. It's great to, you know, like my dad said, you start wearing when they quit asking for your autograph.
That's right.
And they're still asking. I like that.
Well,
this is
thanks a lot again for joining us.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Randy. Nice to see you.
All the best.
All right.
Thanks
Randy Jones, former Cy Young Award winner, longtime San Diego Padre, now runs RJ Barbecue here at the ballpark. Honoring Hall of Famer Tony Perez. More than a dozen Big Red Machine members will be there, including Morgan, Bench, Rose. Plus, cap off the night with a fireworks show presented by Cooper Tire. For tickets to Tony Perez Weekend, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets.
Well, you better not bring Randy Jones into that party. He would spoil everything. I mean, on the way out the door, he said, I forgot to mention that I shut out the Big Red Machine 3 times.
Not once, not twice, 3 times that year.
I'm wondering if there's any other pitchers out there that could say that, even over the course of several years there, that would have that kind of success against that Hall of Fame lineup.
Isn't it fun, though, to talk to a guy like that? He is as enthusiastic about the game of baseball now probably more than he was back in the day when he played.
Well, you never know who you're going to see in the hallways around here, and I'm sure happy that he just dropped in.
This game into the 5th inning now. Reds by a run at 4-3. Raisel Iglesias, he's able to put on a show for Randy Jones and others. He's now retired 10 in a row since that shaky first. Votto leading it off. Joey 2 for 2. Votto had been 1 for his last 17 coming into this game. Good to see him get back on it. An RBI single in the first. Solid 1-out single to center in the 3rd. Frazier to follow, then Bruce here in inning number 5. Shields gets in on Votto there. The end result is a fly ball out to left, handled by Upton. 5 in a row now retired by James Shields since the walk to Pena in the 3rd. Here now is Todd Frazier. Todd a double his last time. He was pushing the 290 mark right before the All-Star break. Went into the break right at the mid-280s. His average had dipped down all the way into the mid-250s. Started this game at 260 after the 3 hits last night. But again, he's 1 home run away now from equaling his career best total of 29 a year ago. 10 RBIs away from that career best last year of 80 runs batted in. Now tonight on an all-new Reds Weekly, shortstop Zach Cozart working towards a triumphant return for a healthy 2016, and reliever Sean Marshall inching closer to returning to game action. Plus, Brian Price speaks on the challenges and benefits of an all-rookie rotation. Don't miss an all-new Reds Weekly tonight following Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Jeff Pecoro, Doug Flynn, your host, Ron Melanor, your producer. Reds Weekly. Jay, a 2-run triple back in the first. Was given an intentional walk in the 3rd after the balk by Shields, when he faked to third base, something you can no longer do. Reds lost 2 out of 3 in Arizona to start this trip. Have dropped the first 2 here. Looking for, if they can get it, their 50th win of the year with a W here this afternoon. Trying to stay ahead of that Milwaukee club, stay out of the National League Central Division basement. Milwaukee lost last night Reds are 4 games ahead in the loss column, 2.5 games ahead in the standings of that Milwaukee club. Of course, their now former GM Doug Melvin in the news yesterday. This should end the inning. He's going to transition into an advisory role in Milwaukee come the start of next year. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's Best Children's Hospital. USS Midway, one of the many big ships right around the downtown area here in San Diego. I mean, you can walk along the pier there, the waterfront, see ship after ship after ship. You can tour, you can go out on some of them, check them out.
Have you been out on any?
I did not go out on any. I've certainly went by there.
I bet if they were able to park the Starship Enterprise out here, you would have gone on it.
I don't know that it really parks. It kind of
hovers.
Sets itself down. Yeah, it doesn't really park. Of course, for all things Star Trek, we turn to our producer Josh Hall, who is an avid fan.
That explains a lot.
You know, they had a Star Trek night at the Red AAA Club in Louisville early this year. They had the Star Trek logo on the jersey. They had the different colors, the yellow, the blues, the reds, the shirts, you know. Looked like Star Trek uniforms.
I didn't know they had different colors like that on Star Trek.
Back in the original series, yeah. Well, even in the mid-'80s series, they did too.
The original series is probably in black and white, right?
Say that again?
Wasn't the original series like back in the days of black and white?
Negative.
Maybe it was just in my family. We were the last ones on the block to get a color TV.
Yeah, I think that's more probably what happened.
Of course, there's a whole generation of people saying, what do you mean you didn't have a color TV?
Yeah, you know, Captain Kirk wore gold and Spock wore blue and Scotty wore red. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to recollect. But all I can remember right now is 8 strikeouts for Raisel Iglesias. I mean, he is a strikeout machine through 1 out here in the 5th inning.
He has equaled now his season high. This is the 3rd time he has fanned 8 in a game. He did it against the Nationals back in late May. He also did it against the Cubs. the 21st of July. Those two both were at home. He's done it now here against his San Diego club as that foul ball catches the hand of crew chief Jerry Davis behind the plate.
I'll tell you what Iglesias does so well. In addition to having great movement, Randy Jones picked up on the movement on that two-seamer right away. Hitters do that too. But he hides the ball very well, and he changes arm angles. And he gets you kind of a big turn, and when he comes out, he kind of jumps at you. And in that process of a pitcher kind of jumping at you, it starts the hitter a little bit quick, and it gets the hitter off their timing a little bit. Those pitchers that are nice and slow and nice and methodical, and they wind up and throw at the same pace, they have to be even better than ever because there's not much distraction. And Cueto figured that out, and I think that some of the other young pitchers that we see, like Michael Lorenzen, will maybe figure that out a little bit to add some deception along the way.
Yeah, he kind of explodes at the end, doesn't he?
And that gets your heart going when you're a hitter a little bit because you never want to be late. No hitter ever wants to have a fastball thrown by him. They'd rather be fooled on a changeup than be overwhelmed with a fastball.
Bird gives this ball a look, but it's way out of play. You look at really both pitchers in this game after shaky first have really settled into what we thought we would see. Since the first, the Reds have gone down in order 3 times. The Padres have gone down in order 3 times and are 2/3 of the way from going down in order a 4th consecutive time as Iglesias fields his position well there. He's now sit down 12 in a row. So 2 men out. The batter now is Solarte. Switch hitter from the left side, and he's going to get a ground ball to first as Iglesias. He retires the side in order now for the 4th consecutive time. That is 13 in a row by Raisel Iglesias.
Home run last night. They came into the 2nd level here of the Western Metal Supply Company. Part of 3 hits last night, and I am basically in the area where this ball hit up here. Hit and went in one of these doors. And let's take another look at Baseball America's list. Best tools in the league as voted on by the National League managers. You will see that best power, Todd Frazier, 3rd on that list in the league. And best defensive third baseman, well, he's going to have a tough time unseating Nolan Arenado, but coming in at number 2, So Todd Frazier can pick it, he can swing it, and hopefully he is back to the Todd Frazier we are used to.
That's good to see them recognize him in the power numbers. Harper leads the league with 29 homers. Frazier is second with 28. And yeah, as you say, even though Frazier plays a terrific third base, Nolan Arenado, he's a two-time Gold Glove winner over there at third. Frazier 3 hits last night, 1 so far here this afternoon. Reds trying to add now in the 6th inning to a 1-run 4-3 lead. Bird has struck out both of his times up so far today. Pena to follow, then to Jesus. And Marlon Bird makes it 3 for 3 in terms of strikeouts today as he fans here. Number 7 for James Shields, who came into this game tied for third in the National League in strikeouts with 160. Toward right and playable there for Matt Kemp. Pena is 0 for 2, and there are quickly 2 out. Remember to follow the Reds wherever you are with MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatsCast, and much more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Here's to Jesus. He has fanned twice. 0 for 6 now in this series. Mentioned yesterday about the fact that DeJesus really excited about going back to Los Angeles, where he made his big league debut back in 2011. Second game of the 2011 season at shortstop against the Giants. Of course, his dad was a Dodger as well. He is thrown out here at first by Amarista, and so for the 3rd straight inning, the Reds go in order.
run is the margin for Raisel Iglesias, who's really buckled down, but never more so back in the 4th inning when he shows the Padres a number of different arm angles. And just take a look at what he does. That's about a 3/4 arm angle right there, a little backdoor slider, then drops it just a little bit more. That ball runs away with a fastball. Again, now he gets on top of the ball a little bit, drops a curveball in on you, and goes way down, almost down around Laredo. So the interesting thing that when you're facing Raisel Iglesias, that you just can't look in the same spot and expect the baseball out of the same arm slot every time. And that takes an adjustment on the part of the hitter. Bronson Arroyo figured that out a long time ago, and Raisel Iglesias has figured it out very early in his major league career. The trick, though, if you're trying to do that at home, and if you're a youngster coming up, the trick is to be able to throw strikes from all those different arm angles, because when you start changing things around, that's when it becomes very hard to command your pitches. But Iglesias has thrown a lot of pitches over the years, I suppose, as a young man growing up in Cuba, and he's taken those lessons here at the big league mound.
He started this inning, having retired 13 in a row. He gets Alonso on a weak ground ball there to DeJesus, so that's 14 in a row. And we're looking back at his last start, which was Friday at Chase Field in Arizona. He at one point retired 15 in a row and 17 of 18 in that game, albeit the Reds lost 2-0. He pitched very well in that one. He gets Kemp now with a 1-man out in the bottom of the 6th. He's 2 outs away from having given up 3 runs in the 1st, and yet getting to a point in the game that it turns out to be a quality start. And the Padres have not had a base runner since the 1st, when Derek Norris doubled into right center, and that ball that appeared to get a little help from the wind. Billy Hamilton went back on it, came charging in, dove for it, couldn't quite get it. But the damage of this game, from a San Diego standpoint, done by this man, Matt Kemp, with that 3-run homer. Reds thought they had Kemp struck out there. The appeal to Will Little is denied, and that's a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Rolls over on that ground ball, and Frazier makes the play. 2 men out. Nippert Stadium refurbished and ready for the return of Bearcat football this season after playing a year ago at Paul Brown. You can go behind the scenes and see all the improvements to UC's home field and what it took to get the job done. Revealed, Nippert Stadium will debut Saturday night at 8 before Reds Live right here on Fox Sports Ohio. I guess we're about 6 weeks away or so from the start of the UC football season and the opening of Nippert Stadium, right in the heart of campus. Upton has walked and struck out. Seven ground ball outs for Iglesias in this game, but 4 in a row. Didn't have so many early, but boy, since Norris's ground ball back to the mound in the 4th, he's got a ton of ground ball outs.
You know, even in that first inning when he gave up a 3 spot, he did not pitch all that badly. The ball got away from him and hit Solarte, and then a little opposite field dink in front of the outfielder by Yonder Alonso. Then it made a bad pitch to Matt Kemp down and in on a changeup, and Kemp golfed it out of here. It took him a little while to get kind of in the groove, but he is some kind of in the groove right now. And what he's done in this at bat, you know, you talk about the ground balls. Most of his ground ball pitches have come from pitches down, breaking balls, change-ups, and so on. But in this at bat, he tried to get Justin Upton to chase a high fastball. And on that pitch, he dropped his arm angle and got his fingers to work underneath the baseball. When he gets his fingers on top of the baseball, that's when that pitch will sink. He really doesn't produce enough backspin on his four-seamer to be able to pitch up in the zone consistently. Like a guy like Kivas Sampson. Sampson can do that. You know, Iglesias' style is not for everybody. But you gotta like the way that he goes about his business.
You're just kind of thinking out loud. Here he is at 94 pitches now in the 6th inning. He can get Upton here. Will he be sent back out there for the 7th?
I would hope so, but you never know. I mean, you know, they're watching Iglesias very closely. It's a learning year. I would imagine he's back out there. Yes.
Suarez going to make the play. Another 1-2-3 inning for Raisel Iglesias, who's now set down 16 straight Padres. James Shields in the 1st inning. RBI single to right by Votto. First, Hamilton hesitated. Then the throw it into 2nd. He scooted home to make it 1-0. Later in the inning, Jay Bruce. This ball over the head of the center fielder, Venable, and off the wall that bounces away from the Padres center fielder. End result, a triple. Suarez and Votto score. Reds up 3-0 after 1/2 inning. But the Padres answer. 3-run shot here by Matt Kemp. His 12th of the year, tied the game at 3 in the 1st. And then in the 3rd, the Reds take the lead on this. A balk by Shields on a fake to 3rd, which used to be legal, no longer legal. Scoring the Reds run is Votto. And a 4-3 Cincinnati lead. And what you don't see there is the terrific work put in by Raisel Iglesias, who retires the last 16 batters he faced. And we believe he was getting the handshake in the dugout, meaning he's finished.
I'd imagine that's exactly what it means, because Brandon Phillips is stepping in the batter's box as a pinch hitter and drives a base hit to center field to lead the inning off.
How about that? Phillips, who was 2 for 4 last night, 4-game hitting streak on the line, and he gets the pinch hit, base hit here in inning number 7.
Now, we had a look between innings about the pep talk that Brian Pena gave Iglesias and the congratulatory remarks that Brian Price has given him. What a nice young man to Raisel Iglesias is.
He has just really been on a tear for about the last, let's see, 5 starts now, really. He missed a quality start against the Cubs on the 21st of July by 1/3 of an inning. And he had a 6-inning start at St. Louis, 6 2/3 against the Pirates, 6 against Arizona, and now 6 here in this one. He throws 96 pitches, and right now is the pitcher of record. His 3rd state quality start. Jumbo Diaz throwing now in the Reds bullpen. No runners for the Padres against Iglesias after the first. 8 strikeouts equals his season high. Does it for the 3rd time. Again, 96 pitches thrown. Billy in this game 1 out of 3 had a base hit to start the game into left. Now he's at 3-1. Phillips the pinch hit single. He alternates really from a fashion standpoint with having those pants all the way down near his shoe tops to showing a lot of red leg, which is what he's doing today. And that is ball 4. So Hamilton draws the walk. Reds here in the 7th inning. On a little early attack. Pinch hit, base hit. Now a walk, and now the heavy hitters starting with Suarez. 2 on with nobody out. Pat Murphy looks on from the Padre dugout.
Hamilton looked like he was up there to sacrifice bunt, which would lead you to believe that perhaps Suarez gets the same instructions. Now, he does have a couple of suicide squeezes on the year, so Brian Price does trust his ability to get a sacrifice bunt down.
Eugenio 0 for 2, and having been hit by a pitch in his 3 plate appearances today. And he does indeed show bunt. Double barrel action in the Padre bullpen. Left-hander up out there is Mark Zebchinski. The right-hander is Sean Kelly. We saw Kelly earlier in this series. Now it's ball 2. Not the 100th pitch of the game for James Shields. There's the bunt. This will get the runners moved along. Nicely done by Eugenio Suarez. Sacrifice that goes 1-3. And now it's Phillips over at third base. Hamilton down at second with 1 out. Zebchinski, we mentioned the lefty, has been throwing in the bullpen. Lefty Votto at the plate.
Now, this is one of the things that happens at Brian Price and Jay Bell when they talk about whether you're going to bunt Suarez or not. Know that they're probably going to walk Joey Votto. Yes, they will indeed intensely walk him to set a force play up for Todd Frazier. So you know ahead of time that when you walk Suarez, you're not going to be able to have Votto come to the plate. But the way that in the last couple of days Frazier has swung the bat, maybe that gamble is worth it.
That completes the intentional walk. Now they're loaded for Frazier, and here comes Pat Murphy. Sean Kelly, who was up earlier in this series, native of Louisville, Kentucky. Also up in the bullpen along with the lefty Zepchinski as the Padre manager makes his way to the mound. And we'll stand there and talk about it until Jerry Davis decides to go on out there, I would guess. Now the signal to the pen. He signals into the right field corner. Problem is the bullpen's in left center, but you get the drift. And so the Padres will make a pitching change here in the top of the 7th. Shields is out. Into the game on our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. The right-hander Sean Kelly.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Big chance for the Reds here. Bases loaded with one man out in the top of the 7th. New pitcher on is Sean Kelly.
Been pretty good so far with the Padres. 1-2 record, 2.8 earned run average. The question is, how does he deal out there when he's got runners in scoring position? And especially with bases loaded, that's where the Reds are right now with Todd Frazier at the plate.
He was one of the batters that Kelly faced on Monday, and he struck him out. And a ball on the strike here.
You just can't be too anxious if you're Todd Frazier right now. I mean, you want to break out of that slump, which he's done, and you want to get all the damage done at once, but you have to wait and understand that the pressure is on the pitcher right here. Boy, Kelly got away with a hanger there.
It's ahead of Frazier now, a ball and 2 strikes. Got it in the air towards center. Runner from third will tag. That's Phillips. There's the catch by Venable. Throw coming home, and it is offline. They cut it off and throw to third. Getting in over there is Billy Hamilton. Reds out a run on a sacrifice fly by Todd Frazier, giving him RBI number 71. A 2-run Reds lead now at 5-3.
Well, the important thing right there for the Reds to pick up at least 1 run. The hit would have been better, but you pick up 1 right there. It gives you a 2-run cushion.
The first and third with 2 out.
And that was a good read by Hamilton, too, because he saw that that throw was, you know, a high throw, kind of an arcing throw from Max Venable, and he was able to, or Will Venable, and he was able to read that immediately and get over there to third base.
Skipper of the Padres makes his way to the mound once again. He's had Mark Zebchinski throwing, and he will turn to the left-hander Zebchinski to come on here to face the left-hander Jay Bruce. So Kelly in to face one batter, Frazier. Gets him on a fly ball, although the run does score on the sac fly. Second pitcher out of the bullpen, and third pitcher of this inning now for the Padres, Mark Zebchinski. Photo of the game. We invite you to tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's today's Data Strong fan photo of the game. It's Jake, Mr. Redlegs. Here's the much-traveled Mark Zebchinski. Made a couple of appearances against the Reds this year when he was wearing an Indians uniform. Traded on the 31st of July by the Tribe over here.
I've watched this young man pitch for a long time. He's now 29 years old. He's been with Toronto. Red fans remember him most for his time in St. Louis and then in Cleveland. Cleveland all the way up until the beginning of this year. I still don't know how you get Zebchinski out of that name, but that's the way you say it.
Votto takes off as Bruce foul tips this ball into the glove of the catcher. That's a stolen base for Joey. His 7th. Now a hit could mean a pair. Bruce is driven into with a triple back in the first. And Zebchinski paints the outer part of the plate there, ringing up Bruce and putting an end to the top of the 7th. With the Reds add a run and now lead by a pair. before every game with Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live pregame edition presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Another one of them tomorrow night as we start the Dodger series. Reds Live at 9:30. First pitch at 10:10 at Dodger Club. Part of our DirecTV look at the standings. The best records in the National League. There you see the Dodgers. They are the division leader in the West. 2.5 games ahead of the Giants, but behind the Cubs in terms of the best record. Yet the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Cubs, two non-divisional leaders. Then the Dodgers, then the other division leader in the National League, the Mets. So the National League Central showing itself very, very well. Best records in the National League.
The team that I'd like to see on that list is missing.
Right.
What is not missing is a big man on the mound right now. That is Jumbo Diaz coming in the 7th inning here. Raisel Iglesias overall really good line for the Red starter, even though he gave up a 3 spot in the 1st inning. The first 3 batters Iglesias faced came around to score. But he buttoned it down after that, and now after 6 innings of 3-run baseball, he gives way to Jumbo. Jumbo comes in 37th game. He eclipses last year's number of appearances by 1 with this relief appearance here this afternoon. Had a stint down in the minor leagues when they thought that he was getting a little careless with the location of his fastball. He came back and he's throwing the ball much better.
He works for the first time in this series, 3rd time on the trip, having appeared twice in Arizona, working in uneventful inning each time there. He tries to keep this streak alive. No Padres reached base since the first. 16 consecutive Padres have gone down. Jerko leading things off. He is fanned twice. Five runs, 6 hits, 6 in the 3rd innings for the right-hander James Shields. Most runs he's allowed since he allowed 7 against the Giants in San Francisco in late June. And only his 2nd start against the Reds. He will not get a victory. Toward the middle of the diamond, and that'll sneak through. A base hit for Jerko. And around Diaz, who falls off to the first base side of the mound. Neither Suarez nor De Jesus could get to it. That ends the streak of 16 Padres in a row that were retired.
First base runner since the very 1st inning.
Just like that, the tying run, and Derek Norris comes to the plate. Guy has a dozen home runs this year. He has doubled and bounced back to the mound in this game. 5-3 Reds, bottom of the 7th. Diaz worked twice against the Padres back in Cincinnati. In fact, he suffered a loss in the Saturday game that was started by Michael Lorenzen. That one out of play. In fact, it was Diaz who allowed the 2-run single by Matt Kemp. It broke a 7-7 tie in the 8th inning back in that June the 6th game that gave the Padres a 9-7 lead. They went on to win by that score. Manny Parr, the left-hander, starting to loosen up in the Reds bullpen. Will Venable, left-handed hitter, is on deck. Then the pitcher spot. Padre pen still active. That's a nice off-speed pitch there. Diaz had Norris chasing it in vain in the dirt.
Diaz has a little bit to complement that 98-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got a slider, and he also has a split finger that he throws. That was the slider variety. You see the spin coming off that baseball, and he gets Norris fishing and coming up empty.
Joaquin Benoit, right-hander, throwing in the San Diego bullpen. Venable tried to hold up, could not. He is twice grounded out. 0 for 2 in this game. Now 0 for 9 in the series for Venable. Actually came into this 3-game get-together with the Reds hitting the ball pretty well. And now he's in the hole, 2 strikes.
Ooh.
Right off the chest protector there, Jerry Davis.
The kind of bond between a catcher and an umpire that only those two could have. And it's I guess it's familiarity of pain.
It got him right over the heart there, didn't it? Maybe 2. There's a step out, throw out. Good stretch by Votto on the throw by the shortstop Suarez. That's a double play. And that ends the bottom of the 7th inning. Tandem, the 14th straight start by a rookie, the 60th of the year by a Reds rookie, and Raisel Iglesias gets the 5th quality in the last 6. That streak of 4 ended last night by Michael Lorenzen, but Iglesias jumped right on it, even though he gave up 3 in the first.
Well, as we said at the very onset of the game in our open, Jim, that I think that Raisel Iglesias is probably further along in the advancement, you know, in getting to understand what it's like to pitch in the major leagues than any of the others, including Anthony DeSclafani. Now, not to take anything at all away from DeSclafani. He's had a very nice year, and he's thrown the ball very well recently. But Iglesias just gives you that extra element of just feeling like he's got a real good idea of the art of pitching and knows what he can and cannot do with his stuff.
And the new pitcher for the Padres as we head into inning number 8 is the right-hander Kevin Quackenbush.
Former South Florida Bull.
You and he can bond. He's 26, went to high school down in Tampa, then went to South Florida. Drafted back in 11 by the Padres. 36th appearance of the year, 4.38 ERA. Takes over for Zebchinski, who faced one batter, who followed Sean Kelly, who faced one batter. Bird here trying to avoid a 4-strikeout afternoon. Lefty Frank Garces, whom we saw here last night for the Padres, now throwing in their bullpen. Bird will not strike out a 4th time in this AB. Instead, he lines one out into left field. And a leadoff hit here in the 8th.
Boy, the value of being able to jump all over a hanger.
See all the Reds action aboard the Cincinnati Bell Riverboat deck at Great American Ballpark. It's located above the center field wall. You'll take in a panoramic view of the Ohio River and the entire ballpark from this 2-story semi-private outdoor party area. Book your party or group outing. You can call the Reds Group Sales Department. Their number is 513-765-7600, or you can visit reds.com/groups. J.J. Hoover up and throwing in the Reds bullpen. That hit, by the way, by Bird was the 7th of the game by Cincinnati. Leading by a pair at 5-3. Bird on the move as Pena fouls that ball back.
Hit and run swing.
Reds have lost 5 in a row here and 7 of the last 8 here in San Diego. Swept last year, trying to avoid that same fate here today. In fact, they've had some problems in terms of being on the road and being swept this year. They've been swept in a 3-game series at St. Louis, at Cleveland, at New York against the Mets. Trying to avoid that same outcome here against the Padres. Pena in this game is grounded out, walked, and flied out. And a pair of hits in the game here on Monday. Bird on the move as this ball launched out to right center, and over to get it is Matt Kemp. Pena 0 for 3. That's out number 1. The batter will be Ivan DeJesus Jr. Started to mention earlier about the fact that both he and his dad played for the Dodgers. Junior here made his debut as a Dodger back in 2011. His dad, Ivan DeJesus, signed as a free agent by the Dodgers initially back in 1969, and he played in a Dodger uniform 74 through 76 before he went to the Cubs. Had a nice career there. Went to the Phillies. Had 3 pretty good years there. DeJesus struck out, grounded out. He's 0 for 3. Hitless in the series in 7 ABs. Beautiful sun-splashed Wednesday afternoon here in San Diego. They draw 21,397. Actually, their smallest crowd of the 3 days. They've actually drawn upwards of almost 600,000 more this year than they drew a year ago.
Well, they expected that with the overhaul of the roster. They brought in so many players and they upped their payroll significantly, signing players like James Shields to a multi-year contract. His contract doesn't become up until 2019. So they committed their money. There's no doubt. They were hoping that the fans would respond. They would also obviously hoping that the team would respond a little bit, and I think they have found out that it's a little more difficult than just taking good players, putting them on a team and saying, here, go play. They've changed their manager. They have a new guy in, and it's a team that is now rumored to have put a couple of people out on the waiver wire, perhaps even an attempt to trade the starting pitcher today, the guy that we read yesterday. James Shields was put through and unclaimed by any other team. So if the Padres wanted to trade him, the door's wide open, given the fact that whether, of course, whatever restrictions he may have in a non-trade clause or some teams that he would not allow himself to be traded to. Don't know what the details of that are.
Jesus disagrees with that call from Jerry Davis, but he turns and heads back toward the dugout, striking out for the 3rd time today. Now Skip Schumacher is announced as a pinch hitter for Jumbo Diaz. Skip got the start in the game last night out in left field. Was 0 for 3 with a sacrifice fly. Tries to keep this 8th inning going. Bit of a homecoming also starting tomorrow for Skip Schumacher. He spent a year as a Dodger back in what would have been 2013 after a long stint with the Cardinals, a team that drafted him.
Well, he grew up a Dodger fan. I learned today that he had his picture taken as a very young man. I mean, almost a toddler type age with Orel Hershiser. In fact, Hershiser was holding him in his own arms when Schumacher had that picture taken. He was a guest on one of the MLB channel programs this morning. Really good interview. I know you've talked to him a lot, and just a fun guy with really quite a bit of very solid insight into baseball and this ball club.
Couldn't agree more. He strikes out here. Job done by Kevin Quackenbush. Sends us to the bottom of the 8th.
his second straight Major League victory after coming up with his first big league victory last time out. Had a lot of presence Saturday when he defeated the D-backs. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, just 1 run through 96 pitches. And look at who he will see, barring anything unforeseen. He will face Matt Latos tonight to begin, or tomorrow night to begin the first of 4. DeSclafani versus Wood, Holmberg versus Anderson, and then on Sunday, at least Lorenzen slated right now to go against Zach Greinke. We're on the air for all 4 games of that series. And as we go back upstairs, boys, Chris Welsh, you were talking about being the last house on the block to have color TV. It was 64 years ago today, in 1951, WCBS TV in New York City broadcast the first color baseball game. Boston Braves beat the Brooklyn Dodgers 8-1.
You are just full of fun facts, Jim Day.
Can't say I remember that one.
I like his comment about tomorrow's pitching matchup. Barring anything unforeseen. I guess that's what we ran into down in Miami. Latos was scheduled to pitch the game down there against the Reds.
Yeah, he was hit by a foul ball in the dugout.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and had to miss that start against the Reds. We noticed at the time that maybe there was something fishy going on in Miami. Of course, there is a lot.
Always seems to be. You two should form a comedy routine.
In fact, both pitchers that will be going tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium will be former Padres.
Even Sampson never made it to the big leagues with them, but he did pitch in their organization. Latos, of course, started out here. And a bad start to the bottom of the 8th inning for J.J. Hoover. He walks the pinch hitter, Brett Wallace. He appears for the 3rd time in this series off the bench. And immediately will bring the tying run to the plate now for San Diego. This is Amarista. Hoover can't find the plate, and now Pena will go on out there. Way inside, moves him off the dish. Ball 2, and it's 2-0. Padre bullpen is busy. Craig Kimbrell is throwing, their closer. But Pena doing a lot of instructing from behind the plate to his man on the mound, Hoover. Pays off. He gets a strike in there. Frazier chasing this ball. Will he have a play? He will, right in front of the seats. Good hustle by the Reds. Third baseman retires Amarista.
I think Todd at the very end of this play waving to some Reds fans down there. He had to get over there quickly. That ball really did not get up there in the air all that much. Padre fans very polite. You go into some stadiums and they'll be battling you for that ball.
Ball on a strike now to Solarte. 0 for 2 in this game, but 3 for 8 in the series for Solarte. Reds trying to protect a 2-run advantage here in the bottom of the 8th. Chapman throwing now in the Cincinnati bullpen. So the two closers that Jim Day featured in his pregame piece, Chapman and Kimbrel, both throwing in their respective bullpens. 2-2 now. Yonder Alonso waits on deck. In case you weren't with us earlier, each team scored 3 in the first. Reds an RBI single by Votto, a 2-run triple by Bruce. San Diego and a 3-run homer by Matt Kemp. Reds then broke the 3-3 tie on a balk by James Shields when he faked a throw to third off the rubber, which you no longer can do. Reds went up 4-3, added a run in the 7th on a sacrifice fly by Frazier. Battling here in the bottom of the 8th inning with J.J. Hoover on the mound. Iglesias went 6, allowed 3 runs, 3 hits, tied a season high with 8 strikeouts. Set down the last 16 he faced. No one reached against Iglesias after the first inning. Jumbo Diaz, 1 inning of no-run, 1-hit baseball. Hoover now in the 8th. Slowly hit. They'll get an out at second and an out at first. That did not develop overly quickly, but Solarte doubled up at first. It'll go 4-6-3 and put an end to the 8th inning. Masashi Iwakuma of the Seattle Mariners gets his 27th and final out in Seattle, and a no-hitter against the Baltimore Orioles. Iwakuma's first, the 4th, as we mentioned, this year in Major League Baseball. Iwakuma joins Chris Heston of the Giants, Max Scherzer of the Nationals, Cole Hamels of the Phillies, throwing a no-hitter in 2015. Our Miller time moment of the game. 3 walks, 7 strikeouts in that game for Iwakuma, who won his 4th game of the year. Reds here in a battle of their own. New pitcher on is Frank Garces. He allowed 3 runs in the final inning of the game here last night, the 9th. He gets Billy Hamilton, who turns around, bats on the right side. Hamilton lays into this ball, but playable right at the edge of the track. Handled out there by Justin Upton. And out number 1. Hamilton 1 for 4 today with a walk. Suarez hitless today, 0 for 2. Hit by a pitch, scored back in the first, and had a sacrifice bunt in the 7th. Garcia's touched up for not 1 but 2 home run balls in the 9th inning last night. Had a rocket shot by Frazier that started the 9th. And later the 2-run pinch hit homer by Jason Bourgeois, the first pinch hit home run of his career, and the first Reds pinch hit home run since last September when Chris Heisey hit one against Dylan Gee of the Mets. Remarkably enough, the 4th pinch hit home run that Heisey hit last year. He was, of course, Heisey traded to the Dodgers in the offseason. The Matt McGill deal recently released by Los Angeles. Votto waiting on deck. Chapman ready to go in the Reds bullpen. Padres in the 9th inning. They'll have 2, 3, 4. Yonder Alonso, Matt Kemp, Justin Upton. Chapman hopes to come on, gunning for his 25th save. Nice grab by that young man down there. On the back end in the front row, brought the glove in hopes. It took him a while, but he got it done in the 9th inning. Hard hit into left field by Suarez, and so Eugenio gets the base hit, his first of this series. You know, looking at the schedule, hard to believe that when the Reds play the Dodgers tomorrow night, it'll be the first time that they will have seen them this year. 112 games into the season. They'll play the Dodgers tomorrow for 4. And then the Dodgers are right back in as part of the next homestand. 25th, 26th, 27th of August. Votto did not face Garces last night. He pitched the entire 9th inning and faced 8 batters. Votto was on deck, and Schumacher grounded out. Frazier on deck. Reds can hang on and get the win here today. They will end the season series against San Diego. 2 wins, 4 losses. And really, their play against the West has not been a bright spot for them. Only 5 up, 13 down this year. Against a group that includes the Dodgers, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and these Padres. Full count now to Votto. Hammered towards center field. Venable going back. He'll look up. That one disappears over the wall. 2-run shot to center by Joey Votto. Number 20 for the Reds first baseman. His 3rd hit of this game. This is no longer a safe situation now for Aroldis Chapman. Reds own a 4-run advantage at 7-3.
Votto thought he had one last night in the 4th inning off the youngster Colin Ray, but he got it big time this time. You can just hear it. When it came off the bat, it was struck well. Votto gives you a little bit of a signature look, and he had a really good idea that he could just take a jog and touch them all.
So the 3rd home run given up by Garces in this series.
I mean, the way he was knocked around last night, you got to wonder why he was picked to come in and pitch this inning. I mean, the Reds leveled on him last night. No one harder than the guy in the batter's box right now.
Sixth time now in his career for Votto that he's had 20 or more home runs. 6 last year, injury-filled season. 24 2 years ago. Number 20 here. Giving him 3 RBIs this afternoon and 54 on the entire season. Chapman is still up out in the Reds bullpen. Staying loose out there. Frazier is a strikeout victim for the 2nd out of the inning. So tied today after the 3 for 4 last night. 1 for 4 today. Here's Bruce. The Padres will shift him. Shortstop Amarista stays at his spot. 3rd baseman Solarte is out near 2nd. In the hole on the right side is Jerko. And that ball hit right to where Solarte is playing up the middle. Bruce is out, and so are the Reds. But they add 2 on the 20th home run of the year by Joey Votto. By Menards. Save big money at Menards and all your home improvement needs. And your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Get a little water work in right there. You can practice your, what would that be called? Just your regular everyday surfing? You handle that, Chris Welsh?
Looks like Jim Day out there on that surfboard.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Then Jim Day again. Not looking bad as a blonde.
Make sure you make your reservation today for the Front Gate Outdoor Luxury Suite at Great American Ballpark. Suite features an all-inclusive food and beverage package, flat panel TVs, and luxury furnishings. Host your next group outing by calling the Reds Group Sales Department at 513-765-7600 or visit reds.com/groups. Despite it being an unsafe situation, Aroldis Chapman does enter the game, his 49th trip to the hill this year.
A little bit of buzz of excitement anytime Aroldis Chapman takes the mound in San Diego, because after all, this was the city in which Aroldis Chapman set the record for the fastest pitch ever recorded by a major league or a professional pitcher. 105.3 miles an hour, if I remember correctly.
Didn't, in fact, he get a license plate that said something like MPH 105 or 106, something like that?
I think he owns 103 through 106.
Okay.
105, 104, 103. His Twitter handle, you probably are all over it, is 105. Not only 105, but it has it in there.
Uh-huh. It's MPH, something of that nature. Alonso bats first against him here in the 9th inning, quickly down 2 strikes. Here's what we're talking about. September the 24th, 2010. 105 from Chapman. Check swing, and he went around. Yonder Alonso is a strikeout victim for the 2nd time today in the 1st out of the 9th.
Back-to-back sliders on Alonso. You know, you get the impression sometimes that Chapman's out there just working on stuff, because he probably feels that he could probably have gotten the fastball by Yonder if he wanted to, but I think my slider needs a little bit of fixing up.
Well, a 4-run lead in a non-safe situation. I guess you can stray a little bit.
Yeah, throws the first pitch change up to Matt Kemp.
3-3 after 1 in this game, and since then all Reds, they've scored 4 unanswered and are 2 outs away from their 50th win of the year. Trying to snap a 5-game losing streak here at Petco Park. Kemp is 1 for 3. He supplied the offense for San Diego in this one, a 3-run homer in the 1st inning. So the Reds have seen Justin Upton and Kemp homer in this series. Crowd buzzes there as the 100 MPH goes up on the board out in left center. And Kemp disposed of there with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
So 2 batters, 2 strikeouts for Aroldis here this afternoon. This one on a fastball, so we will call that our flamethrower. Brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce.
So an out away of the Reds now from a victory here at Petco. Justin Upton 0 for 2 today. 2 for 9 with a home run in this series. Stands in there. Padres off tomorrow. They'll go to Denver for 3 against the Rockies over the weekend, and then back home for another 6-game, 7-day homestand. They'll have the Braves in next week, and the Cardinals the following weekend. Things stay the way they are. Raisel Iglesias would get his second straight win. His third win of the year. And his second win in his last 3 starts. Shields would be the loser. Upton stays alive. That strikeout of Kemp made it 11 strikeouts in this game. You hit 11 at home, you get free pizza. Get 11 on the road, and you think about free pizza. Up and away it goes, 2-2. Chapman now goes the distance to Justin Upton with Jed Jerko waiting on deck. Towards center, base hit. Justin Upton had been 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts lifetime against Chapman. He comes through with the base hit here. Now it's Jerko. Jerko in this game has fanned twice and singled. So 4 hits and 11 at bats, including a home run yesterday in this series for the Padres second baseman. Upton goes on down to second. No steal. 1 ball, 1 strike. Strike 2. Chapman saved the game on Saturday in Arizona. Non-save situation here, but trying to get the job done nonetheless. Hit hard to right field. Bruce is there. Reds win. They get a victory in the finale of this 3-game series here against the San Diego Padres. Winning this afternoon by the final score of 7-3. Raisel Iglesias ups his mark to 3-4. 6 innings with a 3-run, 3-hit, 8 strikeout baseball. James Shields suffers the loss. He's now 8-5. Reds now 2 wins, 4 losses on the road trip, with still 4 to go in Los Angeles as they win it here this afternoon in San Diego. Again, the final, the Reds 7 and the Padres 3. Stay with us now. We have Reds Live postgame.